Oh, this is thing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Banger Show. This is the Gameweek 1 preview. My name is Siva, and I'm joined by Sam. Sam, are you excited for the return of FPL?
I am. You would understand, as well as all you listeners, all you fellow FPL addicts. Summer months has been, it's been cool to get some downtime, but I can't wait to get back into FPL.
I mean, it's been shit. There's no FPL. So let's move in. Let's get straight into it. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to do a long intro. We want to get, there are a few key issues that everybody wants to talk about. First question here. This is how we like to do it. We'd like to start off with a good question. FPL Gato. 5 at the back plus a 11.5 forward and Jesus, which is the template that everybody has right now, or at least a lot of people have. Now that seems to come at the expense of an 8 million mid. For those going 5 at the back, what is the plan if one of the 8 million mids, so your Fodens, your Sakas, your Mounts, one of them becomes a must-have? Is it worth not having that key price point in order to have 5 wingbacks? Now, we'll come to our individual drafts later, Sam, but what do you think about this question? Do you think you need to have a price point for an 8 million midfielder?
I wouldn't say that. I've never been a fan of the whole price point thing. Like having a specific player in specific price points to make sure you can move. I don't think it's that hard to make a move. Especially, if it's premiums, yeah, maybe harder. But 8 million, in Gameweek 2, you can probably do it with 2 moves. If it's, a real disaster and you really need that 8 mid, you can just do a -4. All you need to do, you can probably do it in 1 move if you're willing to downgrade one of the expensive players. But Siva, I'm not aware of what the template is. So if you don't have an 8 mil mid, then what do you have?
I think
SALAH?
Okay. So the basic, I'll give you the template because I was looking at the 5 at the back formation quite a bit today. So you basically have typically a premium keeper, either Edison or Ramsdale. I think most people are going for that because you're going heavy at the back to begin with. Trent, usually Robertson, Cancelo, Perisic, James, and so that's your 5 back. And then in terms of your midfield, it's quite light. You have Salah. Most people have Salah. And then they pair it with a Martinelli and a Neto, best case scenario. And then up top, they have Haaland and Jesus. That's basically the template. So you'll see, I think the issue that FPL Gato is raising, and it's a fair question, is that if you want to get an 8 million mid, you have to upgrade Martinelli from 6 to an 8. So you effectively have to lose one of your Liverpool defenders to make that happen. Alternatively, you're trying to get Neto up to an 8 even harder because it's quite a big sacrifice. And you'll also be going down to a 4.5 defender there. But basically, it's 2 moves, right? So let's just say first week, game week 1, Saka scores 2 goals. Or Mount scores 2 goals. Or you really want Foden for game week 2 against Bournemouth. You can't do it without a hit. And I think that's the worry that some people are having. That's why a lot of people have gone for Diaz over Robertson. And we'll touch over that debate. I have very strong opinions about who you should go there. I think there's some benefit to this, Sam. I know you don't like price points, but I do think having an 8 million mid slot, because there are so many good options there. And I actually do wonder, I've been looking at 5 back a lot. We both love big at the back. Are there really 5 top tier defenders who I would want to keep long term? Like I know Trent, Robertson and Cancelo I would keep, probably the whole season. Do I really want to force myself into a structure where I have James, Perisic, and if I can't make them work, I got to go down Trippier, got to go down further to 4.5s. It's just, I feel like you are sort of limiting yourself.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So I do agree that an 8 mil mid is good, but not because of a price point. It's more that, there are so many good options at 8 million. About your defense, I don't know. I don't think, because it's not like you're going to be set in it. If you really need to make the change. Now, I mean, by going 5 at the back, obviously you expect them to have good returns at the start of the season. But if they're not, then, just take a -4, bring him down, move someone up in the mid, upgrade Neto or someone else. I don't think it's that hard. But basically, if you feel like an 8 million mid is going to outscore your defender, then go for it. If you feel your premium defender will outscore all the 8 million mids, then go for a premium defender. That's just how I look at it. Maybe too simplistic, but maybe we're also overcomplicating things, Just go with the best Gameweek 1 team that you feel will score the most points over the first few weeks.
Okay, so I think, yeah, you raised an interesting point, and you're sort of saying don't let the price point dictate your choices. Let the players, the guy you're picking, dictate your choice. Makes perfect sense. I think that's the right way to play the game. So we had here a question about Saka, Mount, and Madison for 8 million mids from FPL Marks. I thought let's look at a comparison of points per 90 for the second half of the season. It's a little unfair to compare points rather than, say, underlying stats, sure, but we're comparing between defenders and midfielders, and I don't really want to get into... It's quite different, you're comparing the stats of a defender who has clean sheets and all that stuff versus a midfielder. It's very different. But if you look here, right, there's only... And I was a bit surprised when I looked at this because I've been looking at totals in minutes. I've never really looked at points per 90. Although Robertson has done really well here, like amazingly well. Robertson is third for points per 90. He's only behind De Bruyne and Son for the second half of the season, which is crazy because he's half their price. He's the only premium defender who made it into the top 10. The rest are either premium midfielders or 8 million midfielders plus Kane. So you've got Kulusevski, Madison, Diaz, Mount, Saka, Foden. Now, the counterpoint presumably to this is that once you start looking at totals, you'll see some of these guys didn't do so well because they didn't get as many minutes. Obviously, people like Foden won't start every week, or maybe Luis Diaz definitely didn't start every week in that run. But this year, we go into the start of the season, I think most of the 8 million mids, Foden being a slight question mark, you can be pretty sure that they will start the first 5 weeks or first 4 weeks, right? Luis Diaz doesn't have competition right now, Jota's out. And you look at Mount, nailed, Chelsea trying to sell Werner. Saka's always nailed. Kulusevski, maybe some question marks, but there are more options who are actually nailed. And I think you compare that to defenders, and I mentioned just now, right? Trent, Robo, Cancelo for me, locks. I don't think Reece James plays right wing back every week. Game week 2 against Spurs, I'm almost certain he's going to play centre back against Son. Just because, right? They can do that, and they haven't signed anybody yet. So, yes, they're different price points, but I do think there's some value, and like you said, it comes down to who you think will score the most points. I do think an 8 million mid will probably outscore one of these 5 premium defenders, and therefore I think it kind of helps if you have one of them. Saka has Bournemouth and Fulham in Game Week 3 and 4. I mean, I would want to root to that without taking hits.
Yeah, I have an 8 million mid purely because I like the player. And I was, debating between Mount, Saka, and all the other 8 million mids. So, yeah, I agree with you. The data here does look correct, although you could argue, Reece James was injured a lot, could have scored more points, that kind of stuff. There's always caveats, right? But there seems to be a general trend in attackers in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, we don't know how 5 subs will work out, but our general view, right, our general sort of knowledge and history is that wingbacks tend to be, not always, there are no rules here, but we know, for instance, Tuchel likes to sub off the wingbacks, likes to rotate the wingbacks. We know that. And we know Reece James has injuries, histories, and so on. We know Perisic is... I love Perisic. I have Perisic in my draft, but I know that he's a rotation risk because Conte, in his season in Italy when he was in charge of Inter, subbed off his wingback every other game. So in 19 out of 38 games, he subbed off at least one wingback. So we know that's the kind of position because it's all action, right? You run up and down the pitch. I would say, as much, if not more prone to a substitution than maybe your midfielders. And...
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it's heavily dependent on you being subbed off after 60 minutes to get your points. You subbed off before 60, it's such a big difference versus, again, a midfielder who might be able to catch the return. I do think, I'm not saying you hit price points, but I think there's some sort of like risk diversification here where you sort of, you give yourself some options in defense, you give yourself some options in midfield. I think if you are going in with only 6 and 5 million mids and you don't want to take a hit down the line, you are basically at Martinelli, Neto, Bruno Guimaraes, Dewsbury Hall, Brendan Aronson, and these are all really like picks that I can't say confidently you'd want in your team.
I agree. I think it's way too risky to only have cheap midfielders aside from Salah, right? You're expecting so much from people like Neto, Bailey, maybe, who I like. I mean, I like them. They look good in preseason, but who knows how long they can keep up their form, right? Ben Rama is a good example from last year, really good in preseason. Scored big points the first few weeks and then he died off. And you need an exit strategy. Makes it really hard if all your mids are budget midfielders. You know, you may have 2-3 players that you want to get rid at the same time.
Yeah. I think ultimately you set yourself up either for a lot of hits or an early wildcard by doing this. Or you just need everything to go right. You need, all your 5 defenders to just smash it, and for all the premium, mid-price mids to just not be worth it. Which, given what we know, these are all really good players who are all sort of, semi-talisman for their teams, I think is a lot to ask for. Okay, let's now talk about the individuals involved, right? So we mentioned Robo, Cancelo also came up in conversation. So we had a question here, FPL Simba. Does Robo outscore Cancelo by game week 10? If so, can Walker be a cover? That seemed to be a popular question. A lot of people want Kyle Walker. Nasser, best pick from Man City, apart from Cancelo. FPL Hafiz, better to go with 2 City attack or 1 defense and 2 attack. Two defense and 1 attack versus 1 defense and 2 attack. Carrick Low, Cancelo, yay or nay. Zeus, Walker and James, or Cancelo and Neco Williams. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, Sam. Let's start off with the Cancelo question. Do you think Cancelo is, you don't like the word, right? But do you think he's essential?
I don't. Because I don't have Cancelo.
Oh.
I don't think he's essential in game week 1. Let's put it that way.
All right.
As we have mentioned in our previous podcast, I don't have a big defense in my team, in my draft, which you'll see later. We already mentioned it in the early draft, but just basically, I don't think there's going to be a lot of clean sheets to start the season. And I want clean sheets on top of attacking returns for my premium defenders. Hence, if there's not a lot of clean sheets, that means there are more goals. So I'm putting more money up top. I currently have a premium draft, but it doesn't have to be a premium draft. You could spread the funds, but the idea is that spread it more in attack rather than defense. So right now I don't have Cancelo, but I know very well most likely I will have him a few weeks in. Right now I only have 1 premium defender, which is Robertson. So I don't know if I'm well placed to answer a lot of these questions. Because I don't have Cancelo. I do have Walker though. I really like Walker. I think as long as City is not signing another fullback, a semi-nil option for City for just 5.5 mil, even if I don't think they're keeping many clean sheets, right? It's still too good to pass off. I think the value is just too good. So I have him in my draft right now. May change when Friday comes, but for now, yeah, he's in my draft after the Community Shield game.
So I was really excited when I realized that Walker was, he's only 5 mil, and that's a really cheap price for a City defender. I agree with you. And I realized that they were selling Zinchenko. I was excited because Walker, as you would expect, did start the Community Shield, and I think would start most weeks. He is the first choice right back. There's one small issue with Walker is there's really no upside. Like he has, 1 attacking return a year. He doesn't get, although he tried to get forward a bit in the Community Shield, he seems to have reverted a lot to what his England role is, which is sort of he basically becomes a third centre back, and he doesn't really get as forward as you'd like. But at 5 million, fair enough. You're paying for a City defender. I guess I'm not comfortable with Walker simply because, my budget's different. I'm not rocking a premium, so I don't need to go down to a 5 million defender. All my defenders, I think my cheapest is 5.5. So again, maybe I'm even not best placed to answer this. I do have Cancelo, and I have Cancelo because I do think he is the most nailed City defender. Plus, he is, no competition. He's not even a natural left back, but he's the closest they have to one right now. And I think he's also got the most attacking potential, something like 80 shots last year. So he's going to keep shooting. I think he's getting used to Haaland. I think we saw that in the Community Shield. He didn't really have his best game. So I would agree. Yep, Cancelo's probably somebody you could get away without. I don't think he's essential. I would like to have him, but if you don't want to have him right now, I don't think you will get massacred or anything. Ownership is quite high, but I do think you can sort of. There are a lot of good defenders this year. And I think I would have Trent and Robertson ahead of Cancelo, to be very honest.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree. I'm rocking just one premium defender, but if I decided to get another one, it would definitely be a double up with Trent and Robertson. I think out of all the premium defense, Liverpool looks the most settled. Pretty much the same guys. Started their preseason early. All of them were available throughout the whole preseason, been playing every game together. I think they can, rock up straight away with a strong defense. Got my worries about all the other teams though. So that's why I only have one for now.
Yeah, and to Hafiz's question, right, about going double city defense and one attack, or first one defense and two attack, I think double city defense is still fine. Like you have Walker and Edison, or even Cancelo and Edison, for instance. Like there's still a fundamentally good defense. Like I think that's okay. Better than doubling up on a bad defense. I would not go double city attack under any circumstances unless you're really, at least not in Game Week 1. I think in Game Week 2, you sort of get to the Bournemouth game and you sort of know who's going to play, fine. But I think in Game Week 1...
If they smash Game Week 1, then yes. Everyone go to attack for the Bournemouth game.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is you need to know who it is going to be, right? Because even in the Community Shield, everybody, and we spoke about this last week, Sam, so everybody was hyped up about Grealish, right? And we were kind of excited too. And, after he came off before the 60th minute, he did nothing. He had a really bad game. I don't think he contributed anything at all to the play. He didn't gel with Haaland the way he had the previous week. Mahrez was really poor. Both of them kept trying to cut inside and it just didn't work. Alvarez and Foden looked so much better. So week to week, I just wouldn't have a City mid in Game Week 1. I think in Game Week 2, if you know who you're going to get, fine. Game Week 1, for me, it's just Haaland and a defender at most.
Yeah, I agree. I think it really scared me that he got subbed off because that means that Pep feels that his role is, what's the word for it? Expendable?
Yeah.
In a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm chasing the game. I need someone to change the game, so I'm going to take out Grealish straight away. I still think he's going to start a lot of games, but, when they are not playing so well the first 55 minutes, the worst thing is to see your players get subbed off like at 55, 50, even 60, before things change in the game. You want him to stay till the end, kind of, pop up with a last minute goal or something. You want that. So the fact that Pep doesn't really trust him, that scared me a lot. Definitely off Grealish, Mahrez, even Foden and Alvarez. It's too hard. The only attackers you can probably get from City is De Bruyne. Haaland, he did play 90. I had my concerns if you listen to last week's podcast, but the fact that he played 90, seems like a good sign. But I don't know, can you afford to put in both De Bruyne and Haaland in your team, but then miss out on everyone else? I don't think anyone can fit that. So unfortunately, most likely you can only go with a single attack, I think.
Yeah, I might consider a punt like on Alvarez in Game Week 2, but I think that's a long way away from now. I think Game Week 1, you want to have a structure that will last you a few weeks at least, and if you have confidence, maybe that's why the 8 million mid slot maybe would help, maybe Foden in Game Week 2, but it's not something I would plan ahead in Game Week 1. I think you don't have to get greedy. When the opportunity comes, you will have it. And I don't think Haaland played badly. There's a lot of talk about whether he played badly. He didn't play to his best, but he still made a lot of runs, still had chances. Okay, didn't finish it. But I think there's enough signs there to see that against a worse defense, and Bournemouth's got a non-existent defense, he should do fine.
Yeah, I think there was an article by The Athletic about Haaland. I don't know if you read it yet, Siva. But it's really interesting. So he, what they highlighted was that he did make some good runs, But City were just not on form today. De Bruyne was missing his passes. Everyone was missing, so they couldn't get the balls to him. But at the same time, he made a few bad runs where he straight offside. He didn't come back in time. And, they had some screenshots showing De Bruyne kind of staring at him, waiting for him to come back on side so they can pass. And before he knows it, he got tackled. So a bit of good, a bit of bad. I think the biggest takeaway we can take is that he played 90 minutes. Pep seems to trust him enough to change the game right until the end. So I wouldn't read so much into the misses and things like that. It's just a positioning that, because, Pep says one thing in press, but he may feel another thing. So I'm just hoping, he gives Haaland more, the chance to learn, to make the proper runs and stuff like that. Anyway, Siva, let's move on.
Yeah, so let's talk about that game, because I thought there was a lot to unpack from it, because we had a question just now about Robertson or Cancelo, and I said, I'll take Robertson in a heartbeat. Let's talk a bit about Robertson's role in this game, and also another Liverpool asset, right, who did sort of, I was very impressed with, and I was very surprised as well by the quality of the performance. Now, this is Robertson in the 15th minute. And I mean, it's quite late for us, right? So we're watching it. I'm quite sleepy for us here. I just was really surprised. Like, okay, this is quite a fast start. 15 minutes in, he's getting a free header in the 6-yard box. Hits the side netting. Then I noticed this Trent's goal. He is Robertson's, again, near the 6-yard box, just behind Walker. You look where Luis Diaz is, edge of the box. There had been posts even before the game about how Diaz likes to go out to the wing. And I was noticing that as the game went on. There were occasions where Diaz would be in the centre of the box, but more often than not, he would go wide and Robertson would come in. And this happened time and time again. Now, second half, Darwin Núñez came on and he was amazing. You see this picture here we have. First thing he did, run straight, Henderson, straight pass. He just, he flies through the defence, forces a save from Ederson. Second part, now this is where he wins the penalty, and I was really impressed with Darwin Núñez because there's a lot to do here, right? He picks up the ball, gets Salah the ball, he continues the run, and his starting position, he's still some way behind the play. By the end of it, he is ahead of everybody. He heads it against Diaz's hand, gets the pen. You can argue, I had a few arguments with some people that it's a bad header and that's why they hit Diaz's hand because he wasn't actually aiming towards goal. And
doesn't matter,
I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter. You got the end result. And then the third goal, right, which Núñez got. Robertson's run here is amazing, right? This is, I think, the 93rd minute. Robertson starts off at the halfway line. And within the space of, you see here, the second clip, it's about 6 seconds later, Salah has the ball. 9 seconds later, Robertson wins a header in the box. So from halfway line to the end of the box, 9 seconds in the 93rd minute, wins the header, and Núñez scores. And so, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, Sam, but my takeaway from this is that both Robertson and Núñez are going to be amazing this year. And the unfortunate thing is you can only have 3 Liverpool assets.
Yeah, I definitely really like Robbo. Liked him since last year. And, like what you've shown, I noticed the same things watching the Community Shield. He's so advanced, really gets into the box. He also creates a lot, He actually took the most crosses. He made the most crosses in the game. He had 5 crosses. I don't know how many of it was successful, but he made 5 crosses. Trent only made 2, actually, for someone who's supposed to be their lead creator. Surprising, right? But I really like Robertson. He's cheaper than Trent, In fact, I have Robertson over Trent. I know everyone has Trent. I'm pretty sure that's the template, right?
Yeah.
And then they regard Robbo as the third choice Liverpool player. I actually have him second, Salah first, Robertson second, and Trent third. So that's how highly I rate him.
Yeah, on the evidence of this performance, I think I noticed that Trent keeps going into sort of the half space in midfield. He sort of takes up not really a defensive midfielder role, but more of a centre mid role. He moves inside, Salah moves out wide, and Robertson goes deep. Now, this may just be Man City, but I mean, if you can do it against City, you can probably execute this game plan against most teams. I would think, a far less solid defense. And I wanted to, come to Robertson's stats, right? So you mentioned Robertson being better than Trent, and there's a genuine argument for that, right? He was the best defender in the second half of the season. 5th overall for points amongst all players. Higher than Salah, Mane, Cancelo, Trent, and all the 8 million midfielders. Points per 90 are so amazing, as we discussed earlier. Now, I thought that some of the quotes from the Fulham coach, right, because they're playing Fulham in Gameweek 1, I thought some of the quotes were really interesting. Now, Fulham have come into this. I don't understand how this happens every time with Fulham, but they keep coming up and they keep don't buy anybody, buy everyone panic sale, on the last day. They haven't bought anybody. They've bought 1 or 2 players. They only have 2 central defenders, one of whom is a 34-year-old Tim Ream, who hasn't played in the Premier League for a long time. And Marco Silva's already complaining. Reading this kind of quote, Sam, my first instinct was, okay, I got to get Darwin Núñez because he's going to score 5 goals against them. Like, he's just going to smash them. And then having given it some thought, I've sort of calmed down a bit and I thought, Robertson's a sensible choice. He'll play. Darwin may only be a sub. What do you think about this? Since you're going heavy in attack, right? And you say that defense is probably not the thing to target at the start of the season.
Yeah, I think Darwin Núñez was sensational when he came in, right? He's been so good. Totally changed the attack. I think Klopp also has mentioned that, he's made it clear that Darwin Núñez is the future. And, Firmino is kind of just there in between in this transition period. If he gives some sort of indication that Darwin Núñez is starting in Gameweek 1 and his first choice now after his performance, I would jump on him. 100%. Because I think he's going to be really, really good. The thing is now we are not sure how long Klopp will take to decide that, okay, Darwin Núñez is now number 1. And it's that uncertainty in his minutes that's kind of putting me off. Although, as he's shown, he can come on as a sub and still, do amazing. But ideally, you want a starter. So that's the only thing that's holding me back, actually.
Yeah. And for me, the thing that's holding me back is actually Robertson was just so good. And so was Trent. Like, it's not a situation where he was better than them. He was as good as them. And if they were bad, if they were just like central defenders who got clean sheet points, fine. But they were so ridiculously attacking that it's hard to justify why am I paying extra for this guy who might match them, but I don't know if he will. I can take the sure thing with Robertson. I can always come back to Darwin Núñez down the line. I think that's the logical, if boring, way to play this.
Do you really need Trent though?
We had some technical difficulties. The technical difficulties being our children. I mean, not our children. I mean, we have separate children, so yeah, sometimes they make noise, right?
Respective children.
Not that.
Not that we have children together.
Not that they would, not that I would not make a perfectly, fine companion for Sam or anything like that. But I feel like I would be the more attentive one. Like Sam, I'd be more careful. Like you're going premium, you're being very reckless here. I think I would be the more sort of relaxed, sort of make sure all the meal times are met. Okay, we're messing about here. You asked me, do you need to have Trent? And see, Sam, that's perfect. A sort of demonstration of how you are being reckless here, right? Because Trent's essential. You don't like the word. Everybody owns Trent. Proven asset. 200 points every season. What more do you want? Like, not owning Trent is overthinking. Yeah, you don't want to hear it, but that's just the fact.
We'll see.
See, you have nothing to say.
Move on.
I
do, but it's really long. But basically, my argument is that I feel that Robbo is just as good as Trent for 0.5 cheaper.
I agree. Get both. Because they are so much better than the competition.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Siva, by game week, my first wildcard, I would probably have both of them already.
That's good. I recommend you have them in your Gameweek 1 team, but let's move on. That's a personal point, personal preference, right? So let's move on. I also have a quote here from the Bournemouth coach, right? And I just thought this is really interesting because Liverpool do play Bournemouth. I think it is in Game Week 4. Arsenal play Bournemouth in Game Week 3. Villa play Bournemouth in Game Week 2. And so you got a fairly good run.
Bournemouth in Game Week 1.
Yeah, Villa play Bournemouth in Game Week 1. As City play Bournemouth in Game Week 2. So basically, Bournemouth are going down, right? Scott Parker's going to be fired by Game Week 5 because this is what he just gave an interview and just said they have no defenders. No disrespect to the people we have, but they suck, basically is what he said. He's playing 3 centre-backs, only one of whom is actually a centre-back. Like Chris Mepham only played 8 centre-backs, 8 games as centre-back last season, so he's not even a first-choice centre-back. The other guy, James Hill, has not played any minutes at this level. In fact, he doesn't even have an FPL price because he was playing for Fleetwood Town last year. They are going down, and they're going to lose a lot of games very heavily. So Leon Bailey, Gameweek 1, you got to have him. Gameweek 2, you got to have a City attacker. Gameweek 3, you got to have Arsenal attackers. And Gameweek 4, you got to have Liverpool attackers.
Okay, Operation Target Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bournemouth fans, if you're listening to this podcast, but that's just the way FPL goes. You got to be ruthless.
Yeah, exactly. I think Bournemouth have come here. Look at Nottingham Forest, giving it a real go. Jesse Lingard, who is definitely coming into my team at some point. Like that's how you do, promotion campaign. Let's talk about this question here from FPL Myth. Is Reece James worth 6.0 with the uncertainty of positioning? And are there any great alternatives at 5.5 or 5.0? So Sam, 2 questions. First of all, is Reece James in your draft? And if not, who would you rather have at that price point?
You know the answer because I already said I only have one premium defender, and that's Robo. Oh, yeah. So he's not in my draft right now, but that's because Chelsea just have too much uncertainty at the back for me. I do believe he will play most games at right wing back. So once all the players have come in, right? Who are they targeting now? I lost track. They seem to be targeting everyone, and everyone seems to be going to Barca.
So before I came on, the Athletic Fabrizio is now reporting that they want Kyle Walker-Peters, which I can't take seriously because
I see.
So they sold Tino Livramento to Southampton, and now they want the guy who Tino Livramento displaced at right back. It's hilarious.
Well, I guess, just as a cover for Reece James, since he's quite injury prone, that's okay. But they definitely need starting centre backs. They will probably get some. Then it's a question of how long it takes to integrate. How long will it take Koulibaly to integrate? He's been there just a few weeks, hasn't really played a lot of games together. So I think I don't see a lot of clean sheets for Chelsea at the start. However, 1 month in, once the signings are all, have their chemistry together as a team. See, the thing about defense is that it requires everyone to be in sync, right? You may have great individual players, but if they're not in sync, you're not going to get clean sheet points. And for 6 mil, you kind of want clean sheet points along with the attacking returns. So that's why I'm a bit hesitant on Chelsea defenders. But once they start clicking, definitely I would have either James or Chilwell, 100%. So my argument is pretty much the same, I think. Repeating myself with all the top premium defenders. But basically, I'm going light at the back now, and I'm definitely going big at the back, a month in, maybe.
Okay. I agree with you on all the points on Reece James. I don't think I've had anything to add. I love him, but it's just not the right time. I think they need to sort out their house and get it in order before I think we'll go there. Alternatives at 5.5 and 5.0. Now, I think since alternatives, I really was impressed, and here I picked something from the Athletic about Ivan Perisic, right? Played 75 minutes in the most recent friendly, so he was behind schedule in terms of his recovery, but he's trying to catch up. So played 75 minutes against Roma. I was really impressed. Very advanced up the pitch. Everything you expected from Perisic, who used to be a winger, and he's playing as a wing back. Taking shots, he took more shots than Son in that game. And, as the article says here, Perisic looks like a genuine winger. And Conte said, he's really good. He's very important. Conte also said other things like, he's not the Ivan Perisic. I know he can get better. But I feel like if you're looking at the 5.5 bracket, regardless of the risks of rotation, I think Perisic's upside, and in a much more stable team than Chelsea, I think I would go for him at 5.5.
Yeah, I agree actually. There are 2 premium teams that I kind of earmarked to, having a potential good start to the season. One is Liverpool, and the second one is Spurs, because I think they had a really settled backline throughout almost the whole preseason. Perisic did join a bit later, but he already knows the system. He's played under Conte before, so I would assume that he fits in quite fast. It's just a matter of his fitness. I don't have a Spurs defender purely because I can't afford it with my current team. I've been trying to find money here and there. So we'll see by the time Friday comes along.
Yep, so these are the stats we have on screen for Conte's season at Inter. And it is troubling if you're worried about substitutions, because he used his 5 subs a lot. He typically, the good news is the average sub is around 65 minutes, though there are earlier ones. No wingback subbed. So games where he didn't sub off any wingback, 2 out of 38. That's got to make you scared. He subbed off a wingback in 19 out of 38, so 50% of the games. Both wingbacks subbed off in 17 out of 38. So in the 21 games where no wingback was subbed off, it's usually Hakimi, who was young and really fit. So Perisic did get subbed off a lot. So those are the risks. I think the counterpoint to that is Perisic last season in Italy didn't get subbed off as often because obviously different coach, but he was still playing wingback and he was generally recognised to be one of the best players of last season. And that's the quote here we had from James Horncastle, who's an Italian journalist, Italian football journalist, and he said Perisic, one of the fittest, and Conte, he keeps saying he's a plug and play kind of guy. Conte knows him, he knows Conte. As soon as he's ready to go, he's going straight in. So I think at 5.5, when the comparison is guys like Neto and maybe Bruno Guimaraes and all those 6 million, 5.5 million mids, I think Perisic is definitely worth the gamble. Yeah, so we've been having some technical issues with the internet, but we'll cut it along, so just move ahead. And lastly, Sam, before we get into drafts, a question here from CFC Nick. Brendan Aronson and James Justin as differentials. I think both look good, but I think I've got a lot of uncertainty about both Leeds and Leicester, so probably I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, Leeds still a bit of an unknown quantity. They've had a seemingly good preseason, but preseason, it's hard to really draw any conclusions from there. Wait and see for Aronson. Now Leicester, I'm really worried they're losing their keeper. Seems like Chelsea wants to go for Wesley Fofana as well, who is their best defender. I'm not sure if I'm keen to, and they were already kind of bad last year. Losing people, not replacing them. They haven't even made one signing, I think. So I'm just kind of staying away from Leicester defense. There are some good differentials though that you can look around, especially some that had really good preseason, right? So one person I really like from Leicester is Dewsbury Hall. I think if you're not convinced by Bailey, if you're scared about his minutes, Dewsbury Hall is the same price, 5.0. But he seems like he is first choice now, in centre midfield. Minutes seems quite secure. A lot of Leicester fans seem to think that he will be their future captain eventually. They really love him. And he had 1 goal and 3 assists in pre-season, so a decent pre-season. I think he might be a good differential if you're looking for someone at 5.0 whose name is not Bai. Other than that, just looking at the price points he's offering in 5.5, Podence is one. A lot of people are stuck on Neto, but with Jimenez's injury, Podence will most likely play false 9. And he actually had a pretty good preseason as well. 3 goals and 1 assist, same price as Neto. So it could be a good differential if you want a midfielder playing our position as a striker.
Yep. I think also Morgan Gibbs-White plays on the right wing for Wolves. All the Wolves attackers are pretty cheap. He's also 5.5. Leeds don't have a left back, so Gameweek 1, that's not too bad an option if you want to try. James Justin alternatives, cheap defenders. Again, you go back to Wolves. I think Ait Nouri, Sam, who has had a really good preseason from what I've read of all the Wolves fans' accounts, and they expect him to start the season.
I have worries though about Wolves' defense because it seems like they're switching to a back 4 from their usual back 5. Doesn't mean they're not going to keep clean sheets, but maybe not as solid as they were. That we've known them for the past 2 years. So I do have some worries. That's why I don't have Ait Nouri in my draft anymore. 4.5. There are a few here and there, right? So there's White, but then there's some minutes worry. There is Tomiyasu, who again not sure if he's back injured. Dunk is a really good option at 4.5, I think. However, if you already have Sanchez, you might not want to double up on him. Who else is there? I have Sven Botman, who is 4.5, purely because I can't find a 0.5 to get Trippier in. But yeah. Are we going straight to drafts?
Yeah, we're on your team basically.
Though, I have...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, before we do, I have one player I want to highlight, which is Zaha. Wilfred Zaha at 7.0. He had a really good preseason, 5 goals, 3 assists. He's pretty much the talisman for Crystal Palace. Now, they do have tough fixtures to start. Tough, but like I said, I don't expect a lot of the premium teams to be really solid defensively. So therefore, I do expect Zaha to get, Crystal Palace to be able to get some goals. They've been playing really well attacking-wise throughout the whole preseason. Zaha, although Ollis hasn't really played that much, and Easy, they've really been linking up well. I think Zaha will be a sleeper pick this year. Only 7.0, so...
Okay. Let's go to your draft, Sam. So why don't you talk me through... Okay, read it out for the pod listeners. Sanchez, Robertson, White, Walker, Botman, De Bruyne, Mount, Salah, Captain, Bailey, Kane, Jesus. And for the bench. Right, so, defense you sort of explained through your 4.5, so I'm guessing you're not committed to any of them, but I guess these are the options you have right now.
The only one I'm kind of committed to is White. There are some concerns, right? You're an Arsenal fan, so you would know. However, you will also know that Arteta is kind of the type where if it works, he won't change. So I feel like he would still start with Gabriel and White until further notice. If one of them starts to play badly, then Saliba comes in. It's kind of White's place to lose in that sense.
Yeah, you'll get a few weeks out of Ben White. I think you're fine.
Yeah. Botman, I really want Trippier. I think Trippier is great. I just can't afford it. So until I find another 0.5, I have Botman instead. I think Newcastle, again, pretty solid preseason defensively. They were quite solid towards the end of last year. Pretty much almost the same team except the addition of Botman, which is an upgrade. And he came early, right? So you already had a full preseason to integrate into the team. Early signs seems well. The only concern with Newcastle defense is that they have tough games in Gameweek 3 and 5. Away to Liverpool and away to City. Doesn't get tougher than that. However, they rotate well with Patterson, right? Assuming Patterson does keep his place. In Game Week 3, Patterson plays Nottingham. Game Week 5, he plays Leeds. So my plan is to rotate them at least. But, I'm still monitoring because it's not 100% guaranteed that he will keep his place. I don't know how long he'll keep his place. He's playing instead of Seamus Coleman, right? Who is injured, but we'll see. So for now, that is the rotation I've gone with. So that's the defense. Not so interesting because I don't have a premium defense. In midfield, De Bruyne, I still have De Bruyne. His positioning was really high in that game against Liverpool. He seemed a bit rusty, passes not really working as much as he wants, shots not really working as much as he wants. He did get into some good positions though, so I'm still quite okay with De Bruyne. So, De Bruyne, Salah, no-brainer, right? Those two are no-brainer. Bailly, I think he's going to kind of be like a Ben Rama last season. I think he'll start really well. Pretty good fixtures to start with anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll hold on to him long-term, but, at least at the start. And then I have Mount. Now, Mount is interchangeable with Saka because I'll be going back and forth between both of them. I think despite Chelsea's struggles, he definitely will do well. He's a mainstay in the team. He's pretty much their best player in my opinion. Nailed. And, even when Chelsea are not doing well defensively, he always kind of pulls them through, right? 11 goals and 11 assists last year. Talisman. I like Mount. I like Saka too. So it's really tough to decide. I'll probably, be going back and forth all the way until Friday. Only worry about Saka is doubling up. Or tripling up, I guess, because I have White, but, Jesus and Saka. If Arsenal proves to be a false dawn and they start playing badly the first few games, then I'm stuck with two. So, it's all about risk and how much risk you're willing to take. Now, up top, Kane and Jesus, I think that's kind of self-explanatory. But yeah, that's my team.
You're not going to keep De Bruyne. I mean, that much I'll tell you. He's not making your final draft.
You mean for Gameweek 1?
Yeah, you will not.
No,
keep
he is. I'm very set on it.
I'm pretty
Why
sure.
would you say that?
You will move to Son, or you'll move to someone else. Yeah, I think you as the
No,
as
I'm
you get
Kane. I'm
closer,
not going to double up Son and Kane.
I feel as you get closer to the deadline, you're just going to see that De Bruyne he's just not sexy enough.
No, you see, a lot of people have all De Bruyne kind of clouding their judgment. Oh, he plays for the back. He's just going to get a lot of assists. Do you want to pay 12 million just for assists? No, this season, you saw how he was towards the end of last season, right? And it wasn't just luck. It's getting in good positions. He was making a lot of forward runs. And he's doing the same the entire preseason, did the same against Liverpool. I think, De Bruyne is truly a premium asset right now. Deserves his price tag. And I'm happy to start with him. Now, when I do make my first wildcard, or maybe not even till then, right? Maybe in Gameweek 4, I want to. So, in our previous Sport Saver, you're talking about Moneyball and all that. I do agree that's how you need to play the game. So this is just my way of starting, but by Gameweek 4, I guarantee you I will have sold one of my premium attackers and move the funds elsewhere to optimize the team. This is just kind of, I don't know, trying to get what's the word for it?
An edge.
A big burst at the start, I guess, right? Yeah. An edge just at the start of the season before I settle into a stable long-term team.
Okay, so this is my team. Just very briefly for the podcast listeners: Sanchez, Perisic, Cancelo, Trent, Robbo, Saka, Bailey, Salah captain, Martinelli, Haaland, Jesus, and a for the bench. So 4-4-2, 2 premiums. A bit of a heavy backline, but then Sanchez in goal. So the only thing perhaps people might raise an eyebrow is triple Arsenal attack, which, so an Arsenal fan who's very negative, I don't really like it. But I think logically you step back, everybody owns Jesus, so he's a non-factor for me. He's not even a player. He's just another dude there because 70% own him. So you look at it independently, I have Martinelli and Saka. Those are the ones who really count. And if you think about it, Leicester have issues. We talked about it, right? Wesley Fofana wants out. They've got existing issues. Kasper Schmeichel's left. They don't look like they're going to buy another keeper. So that's Game Week 2. Game Week 3, Arsenal play Bournemouth. Game Week 4, they play Fulham. Best 2 fixtures you can get back to back. So I think Saka and Martinelli. Now that we know Saka probably has pens, I think it's a really good shot. I didn't pick Mount, although I really like Mount.
Does he though? Sorry, because didn't Jesus already have his hat trick? So he could have just gave it to Saka, because I already had 3.
But Jesus has never taken a pen for Arsenal. I mean, he's only played 5 games, but I don't think Jesus will be on pens because his record is really poor. He's missed about half of the pens he's taken across his career. I don't know why Pep kept giving them. I mean, City, nobody knew who took the pens and they all sucked at it. But
yeah, no one could take pens.
Yeah, thank God they bought Haaland. But yeah,
Does
Jesus
Haaland take the pens now for City?
I'm sure he will because he actually has a good record and he will want to take it in a way that KDB has always shied away. But yeah, to come back to the point, Jesus has a poor record, so I don't think he'll be taking it. Saka or Martinelli should take, so I've covered myself there. Not that it particularly matters, but it does help at that price. And compared Diaz to Robbo, I think we already explained why both of us, I think, agree we prefer Robertson. So it's between Saka and Mount, and I'm going to bank on the Game Week 2 fixture now that Arsenal are playing Leicester and Chelsea are playing Spurs in Game Week 2. So that's my betting point. I don't think it's a huge difference though. The rest of the guys, Perisic, Bailey, Cancelo, we spoke about earlier. So I like the structure. It's got that flexibility we talked about. Although it's not a big deal to me, I just really like the players that are here. I'll probably end up all cutting by Game Week 5 just like you.
Okay, yeah. Nice. I listened to Ian Wright's podcast, and after that, he had an interview with Martinelli.
Okay.
And immediately after that, I had a strong urge to transfer Martinelli, and I was like, and then I realized you should not listen to biased podcasts right before you make your FPL decisions. Because Ian Wright was like, I saw them in training, they're going to do so well, they're smashing it this year. I'm like, yeah, Ian Wright knows his stuff. Maybe I should listen to Ian Wright.
Interesting.
But anyway.
Okay. I mean, one thing about Martinelli, I know, look, a positive, a lot of Arsenal fans will tell you he's nailed. He's not nailed, okay? He will share minutes with guys like ASR once they're fit and maybe even Nketiah. But at 6 mil, he's a route into the Arsenal attack, which is really good because all the other 6 million mids are very hit and miss to me. And he will start the season because the rest of the guys aren't fit yet. Like ESL is definitely not fit, so he's just competing with Nketiah. He might have pens or a share of pens, helps again. And if you watch, Tifo did a really good video this week. I'd like how we're recommending other people's content, but Tifo did a very good video on the Arsenal win over Sevilla. And what they showed was basically the Arsenal attack interchanges a lot. We are basically becoming like a budget Pep team, but minus Haaland. So Jesus goes out to the left wing, Martinelli comes center, Saka goes out. And so what that means is all three guys are effectively interchanging a striker at some point. So in that sense, it's pretty cool. He's not just stuck on the left wing and doing cutbacks. There's a lot more to his game. He might end up in this center areas. He had, I think, 2 or 3 assists against Sevilla. I think at 6 mil, it's a fairly low risk punt. And even if he doesn't pay off, you've got so many options that you can go down to that we discussed earlier.
That's true. I think at the start of the season, at least, he seems like a good punt. Long term, we don't know, right? But at least at the first few game weeks. Nice. I like how you say you're a pessimistic Arsenal fan, but you have triple Arsenal attack, so you're not really that pessimistic. Whereas I convinced myself to get off all MU assets. I had Sancho for the longest time in my draft. And I think like yesterday or the day before, I thought to myself, if I were not an MU fan, would I have Sancho? And I realized the answer is no. So I took him out, trying to make unbiased decisions.
Honestly, it would be a lot easier if we both weren't fans. Because for the longest time, I didn't have Martinelli in drafts because I think I'm an Arsenal fan. I know he's not going to play every week and I don't trust him. So I think you bring a lot of bias in as a fan. And it's not healthy, but that's just, we're humans. It is what it is. But yeah, we will... I guess we're done with our content for Gameweek 1, Sam. Of course, we'll still be online posting and stuff. But we'll be back for Gameweek 2. Hopefully, Gameweek 1 doesn't go to shit.
Yeah, follow us everywhere. We are everywhere now. TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. Siva makes really good TikTok content.
Thank you.
Thanks to our wives.
Yeah.
You may have seen our wives as our unofficial mascot, unpaid mascots on TikTok and Instagram. Shout out to them for their support. Yes. And that's it from us this week, I guess.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. But in the meantime...
Get those green arrows. No, wait. Do you get green arrows in the start of the season?
Nah, mate, you don't get green arrows. You get grey arrows.
Okay, then get those good Game Week 1 ranks, guys.
Yeah. See you guys.
Oh, this is the